not the answer in that area. At some point in time, we have to take a serious look at reconstructing that. To me, resurfacing right now would probably be a Band-Aid.
But didn't the road needs study recommend resurfacing?
The roads needs study recommended resurfacing in 6 to 10 years. The third year of the program was based on $2 million in expenditures every year. Because we're not funding our roads program at $2 million a year, the approach we've taken is to say the consultant's 5-year program it's a good guide, but it's not economical for us because we're not at that level. So for us, what we do is we look at the priority. There's 3 different sets of priority now, 1 to 5 years and 6 to 10. And we want to take care of the now roads first, the 1 to 5s, and then the 6 to 10s. So based on using the master listing of the roads, that section's not set for 6 to 10 years.
But it looks so poor. It's like, it's not just an
But there's other areas in the
municipality
municipality that look even worse.
but they're not used as often as Main Street, right?
Well, I guess that's arguable. There's many other places that are. The way it was built on priority was one of the factors is use of the annual average daily traffic is factored into its priority ranking and its condition assessment. And you know that it was a scientific method applied to all roads that developed that priority, and it set in that priority, and all other roads were compared against it. And the engineer came back and said these roads are a higher priority than that section based on all factors considered. I think there's more to that road than just a simple resurface. And in the engineer's defense, they weren't asked to go to that extent of doing the geotech work that needs to be done there. And
It wasn't part of their
no, it wasn't part of it.
investigation
No,
at all.
it was just simply surface condition.
Well, I wanted to come back at some point in the discussion about the decision that was made by the MTO or by the province about removing Connecting Link Fund and to see if council would entertain having other municipalities, contacting other municipalities that currently have connecting links that they're maintaining because of provincial traffic and are now inheriting 100% of the responsibility for that from a cost perspective, to see whether there could be some strength in numbers by going back to the province. Hold on, we need a bit more discussion about the approach you're taking.
Most of the times when the province turned over a portion of road, they would bring it up to standards before they would turn it over. And they haven't done any of that.
You've had good success, for example, on the rural firefighter approach, where we work collaboratively with other rural municipalities. Got their attention, might be worth identifying.
Councillor Underwood.
Yeah, you know, with regards to Main Street and King Street in Forest, I'd love to see the thing completely resurfaced. However, we're in the process of replacing all our water lines in Forest. It's a long-term plan. And the last thing I want to do is spend money on resurfacing our connecting link and then have to dig it up again in about 3 or 4 years' time when we have to do that infrastructure and pay for it again. If we're going to be doing major projects like that, I understand it is starting to get a little bit ratty in areas, but we've got to be tying these projects together. So we're going to dig the darn thing up, because the amount of disruption that's going to occur with the major link going into Lambton Shores right through Forest for God knows how long, because that is a major project to dig up with all the concrete. I don't want to do it twice. I'd rather do it once and one time only. So we've got to tie these projects together just to save money. But we're going to be doing it again.
Councillor Russell.
2 suggestions. If and when that comes, I would suggest that would be a good way of taking care of some rural roads around them, and every time we do one of those, that's how we would do some rural roads. They do that in here in Perth County all the time. But on your page 117, there's the council request, the motion about the sidewalks, and it says the main points are as follows based on established precedents in other municipalities. What that is really is, if I'm not mistaken, is the Local Improvement Act. Through you to the clerk, is that the Local Improvement Act, I would assume?
Page 117 of agenda was.
Right at the top there it says, in response to the request, council passed the following motion, which has to do with sidewalks. Is that the Local Improvement Act, generally speaking, where the majority of the people and they request a sidewalk to be petitioned for? So that's the local improvement, correct? Okay, so we've had examples here where we've used local improvement probably, and we've also used other methodologies. And I think if it says further that staff develop a policy to review the process of processing requests for new sidewalks, I think we unlike, we'll say, a municipality that doesn't have a large tourist component or a seasonal component, we just finished paving a trail. I don't know how much money we spent on that, but we didn't do a local improvement along the Pine Route for that trail. I think when you have something like the Arcona sidewalk, which has larger picture things, this one along Marywood's is larger picture things, it isn't really those people right in front of it. I think the policy needs to be larger. The policy needs to look beyond the LIP, because I'll just give you an example right here in town, right? We need to probably, we talked about this with the road needs study, that we don't have a sidewalk needs study. Remember that discussion? Yeah, and that's why this should be fuller. I think this should be a larger policy. It shouldn't just be LIP. It should be, we should look at, there's sometimes sidewalks that are beyond LIP, they have a larger interest, right? Safety. Yeah, the safety of
Accessibility.
The street light policy, they're all
similar type of.
all together.
So could I amend my motion?
If you'd like.
I think it needs to go to strategic planning.
Okay.
We need to review those individual policies that are coming
Policies
to us.
on sidewalks.
Sidewalks, and John makes a good point, connecting link. How do we start a process like that, Mr. Mayor? I think each of those things in turn, right, may require another action, or maybe not another action. But to have that fuller discussion, I think would be probably quite wise.
And the motion is to
Send this through for budgeting, because obviously.
send it through the budgeting as well as strategic planning for policy development regarding sidewalks, streetlights.
And requests for roads beyond our road needs study. Obviously, this is, we could have this every year where people are going to come and we're gonna have Rumble Road or something, right? And we do have a road needs study. One of the reasons we have a road needs study is for the purpose of longer picture and
Big picture.
prioritization, and all exactly the arguments that are being made by the deputy. That's our choice to make those choices to go outside of it, but it should fit within the criteria. So what are those methodologies? So it would give us a guideline when we're looking at this, so that this circle doesn't keep coming back. Do you know what I'm saying?
There's a seconder for the change motion. Who seconded that?
Yep.
You'll agree with that change? Councilor Underwood?
I just want to point out that this report has got 5 projects in there, and they're asking for direction on 5 projects and different options. So are you asking, your motion stating that you want everything to go to strategic planning and to the budget process now? Everything?
Yeah, and I think what happens here is what we end up with is what was the word used earlier in this discussion? Omnibus?
Yeah.
What happens is when you end up with a report this large, right? The fact is that we should be going through it in detail, and we should be separating out the component parts, and we should say that those component parts should be dealt with as component parts.
That component part is a budget part, but the process is a policy.
And you continually, Mr. Mayor, say that the staff, and I think the staff can take those component parts and put the appropriate ones sideways to strategic planning and send the ones to the budget. And in that budget process, they'll be able to point out to us that in fact, it doesn't meet the 6 to 10 year criteria, the 1 to 5 or whatever. It's an anomaly, and we should have a policy about anomalies.
Councilor
Because all we do is this, we just keep doing this.
Now we have an amended motion, we can speak again.
You got it.
Just a quick question through you to Janet, I guess. Do we have reserve funds for safety infrastructure issues like this? Like crosswalks, I'm thinking about the crosswalks, there are these 2 locations, the Tim Hortons one and the one down by No Frills. Definitely, I mean, I keep hearing this all the time, I'm sure Councilor McGuire does. We constantly hear these are really high traffic areas, and 12 months of the year, worse in the summer, but even in the winter. I'm just wondering if there are funds, we're looking at up to maybe $120,000 for 2. Is there that type of reserve for a safety designated issue under local improvement?
No, not a separate one, and currently our sidewalks and everything are funded through the transportation reserve, just like the roads and bridges.
Okay.
streetlights, they're all
So
the same.
it could be a capital upgrade.